The rumored cold school beauty suddenly confessed to me, just as I was about to do whatever I wanted. A row of bullet comments suddenly appeared in front of me. They read, "This fool can't really be taking it seriously, right? The female lead is just mad at the male lead." To provoke him, she casually picked a random nobody to confess to. That nobody is just an ordinary loser who's overly confident. How could the school beauty possibly like him? However, instead of getting angry, I became even more excited. I asked, "Are you currently single?" The school beauty nodded without hesitation. Then, in the next moment, I grabbed the back of her head, tilted her face up, and claimed her lips in a fierce, possessive kiss. Chapter 1. Willow froze in place. I wasn't satisfied. I grinned and bit her lip playfully. The bullet comments exploded. One read, "Aya, the female lead hasn't even kissed the male lead yet. How can she already let this extra have a turn? How shameless is this extra?" I laughed. "If they treat me like a tool, I have to charge a little, right? You toy with my feelings. I toy with your body. That's only fair." Willow's face flushed bright red. She was furious. I ignored her incredulous look and said with a smile, "Girlfriend, pleased to meet you." Willow pushed me away, her face full of disgust. She spat several times and said, not very kindly, "Gorge, you're gross. Let's just forget this." Before she finished, a boy in a white shirt walked up not far away. Willow's words cut off mid-sentence. The bullet comments cheered. The male lead has finally arrived. Because the male lead got a little close to the junior, the heroine got jealous and couldn't sleep, staring at his WeChat avatar and crying all night. Another comment read, "I command you two to get together this instant." Willow looked at that boy, but she was speaking to me. "Dear boyfriend, take me home." I scratched my head. "Didn't you just say to forget it?" Willow bit her lip. "You misheard." I shrugged casually and then took her hand, smiling. "Forget going home, let's go to a hotel." Willow was clearly stunned. She asked, "What for?" I pulled her into my arms, took the chance to grope her a little, and pinched her firm, shapely long leg. I grinned. "Baby, do I even have to explain?" Willow went completely stiff. Seeing she still wouldn't speak, I frowned and raised my voice. "You're not playing me, are you? Are you using me to get back at someone? You never intended to be my girlfriend in the first place." Willow panicked and cut me off. "No way. Don't say that. Go, go, go. I can go by myself, can't I?" The bullet comments said, "Aya, what is this extra doing? Who allowed him to be with the heroine?" Another read, "What a disgusting loser. Just after confirming the relationship he's already trying to book a room." Someone else wrote, "Upstairs. Even if it's gross, you can't say that. The heroine said she's single. It's consensual." And another, "Loser, go die." "Heh, I'm not going to die. I'm going to book a room." I hailed a taxi immediately and headed straight for a hotel. Soon we were standing together before a couple's big bed. Willow still looked dazed, as if she had no idea how she ended up here. I didn't give her a chance to change her mind. I shoved her onto the bed. Click. Handcuffs clicked on. Willow's model-like face went blank for a moment, then filled with anger and regret. There wasn't much happiness or joy at all, but I didn't care. I stroked her soft lips and then slipped a finger into her mouth, playing with her tongue for a while. The handcuffs and the iron bed frame clinked, ringing out. As the silver chain pulled, tears welled in Willow's eyes. My hand slid over her softness. I curled my lip and smiled. "By the way, my name is George, not Gorge," I said. "Don't call me the wrong name later." Chapter 2. Yes, I knew it. Even without the bullet comments, I already knew the truth. Willow never liked me. She hadn't even noticed me. She just picked a familiar-looking name from the elective course sign-in sheet, and even misread it. But I had always been watching her. The starlet mother, the tycoon father, her arriving at school in a Bentley, at banquets, the way her gown swayed gracefully. In my head, she is so miserable. So when a top-tier goddess like her practically delivered herself to my door, the bullet comments telling me not to eat her were nothing but jealousy. SKR. And it just so happened that lately I'd been under a lot of pressure. That's why, instead of being angry, I was grateful to Willow. After all, an ordinary college student like me had no chance of ever crossing paths with a rich, beautiful campus queen. When I was little, I read those underdog stories where the innocent campus belle or the wealthy daughter fell in love with a hard-working poor boy. But when I grew up, I realized the ones in the same world as those heiresses would always be the tall, rich, and handsome guys. On the very first day of school, everyone already knew that the male lead, Makoto, and Willow weren't like ordinary classmates. They insisted they had just grown up together. Makoto even helped another boy deliver her a love letter once. Willow threw it straight into the trash. Nobody was blind. Until today, I had only been part of the background to their romance. But after today, who knows? I lit a post-lovemaking cigarette and glanced at the jade-like body sprawled across the bed. Willow met my gaze, her body shivering, fingers clutching the sheet. She bit her lip and threatened. If you dare touch me again, I won't let you off. After a whole night of silence, the bullet comments finally came back in a flood. A string of question marks. My heart finally gave out. The heroine is no longer pure. Has the heroine lost her mind? Just to make the male lead jealous, she sacrificed her body. But another voice argued. Don't be so pick-me girl. Why say she's unclean just because she slept with someone? She's only using the extra as a tool. Her heart still belongs to the male lead. Then another. Are you sure her heart still belongs to the male lead? She looks like she can't even close her legs. I looked with satisfaction at the scandalous marks across Willow's body. I chuckled, still pretending. Didn't you enjoy it too? Willow's teeth sank into her lip as she whispered in humiliation. No way, she said. Stay away from me. I soothed her. Don't be scared. I have to meet with my professor soon. No time for another round. As I spoke, I was already dressed. When I reached the door, Willow scoffed. You're just going to leave. Aren't you forgetting something? I returned to the bedside, leaned down, and kissed her lips. I said, all right, no more pouting. I have serious business to handle. Her eyes widened, her whole body trembling with rage. She looked even more delicate that way. She said, I meant take off the handcuffs. I suddenly understood, pulled the key from my pocket, and tossed it to the foot of the bed. A little hard to reach, but not impossible. If nothing else, she could always call someone. And with that, I patted my backside and walked out. The following days, I didn't contact Willow. I heard she took 2 days off, and when she reappeared, she wore a high-neck top in the sweltering summer heat. When a boy accidentally bumped into her on the road, she jumped half a meter high like a startled bird. Later, during PE class, I met Willow again. She was dancing a TikTok duet with her bestie, Vi Toma Toma Toma. The battle was intense. Chapter 3. Willow was practicing twerking. I was practicing Tai Chi. After finishing my routine, I went over to admire Willow's dancing for a while. That slim waist, perky hips, and those long legs. When her skirt fluttered up with the moves, it revealed the honey thighs that haunted my dreams. Willow was focused on recording and didn't notice me. Her dance partner was another rich heiress. After Willow messed up several times in a row, the girl teased. Weren't you shaking it so hard just a moment ago? Why so many mistakes all of a sudden? She added. Your Makoto isn't here. No, wait, if he was here, you'd be dancing even harder. Or maybe, did you see someone who scared you? Willow told her to shut up. Just then, Makoto appeared carrying a big bag. He said in a fawning tone. Willow, I brought you milk tea, and also some fruit and snacks. Willow didn't reach out. Makoto looked a little embarrassed. I pulled out the little squashed bun from my back pocket and walked over. Willow still didn't reach out. Her expression seemed to say, who do you think you are? What right do you have to bring me food? I asked sweetly. Girlfriend, do you need me to feed you? Willow's face stiffened. Then she snatched the bun from my hand. Afraid she might choke, I kindly handed her my water bottle. Makoto looked bitter, gritting his teeth. You used to despise these cheap snacks. The bullet comments came in right on time. The male lead came just to coax the heroine, but she's still sulking. Yet the moment she first saw him, she was thrilled inside. The extra is enjoying himself now, but when the truth comes out he'll look like a clown. To me, the heroine doesn't look like she's trying to provoke the male lead. She looks scared. After delivering the food, I turned and left. My professor had invited me to a dinner party tonight. I had no time to care about those bullet comments, and I left Willow and Makoto behind. When I arrived, my professor was chatting happily with senior sister. A dozen drinks later, the professor smiled kindly and said, George, your paper was pretty good. Diego's son is working in the same field, but he needs a first author. Why don't you give it to him? I stayed silent. The professor's face darkened. He frowned. Do you still want your diploma or not? I clenched my fists, nails digging into my palms. It wasn't the first time he'd made such a demand. Days passed in a daze, with pressure I couldn't release, like being choked and forced under filthy water. Senior sister, with her fake sweet voice, chimed in. Professor, junior brother doesn't mean it like that. She handed me a glass of wine and said, come on, apologize to the professor. My stomach churned violently while the professor and senior sister kept harping on my mistakes. Then, suddenly, the private room door burst open. Willow appeared as if from the heavens, standing at the doorway. George, what's your relationship with her? Successfully escaped the predicament. Chapter 4. The night breeze blew away the last of the wine. By the roadside, I nonchalantly stopped the phone recording and said to Willow, thanks. Willow lifted an eyebrow. Looking a little proud, she said, don't flatter yourself, I just came to return your water bottle. She muttered, A busted water bottle, and I actually had to come all the way out here to return it. Right, I was the one who'd sent Willow the dinner location. I knew that as a rich heiress, Willow would be the type to stand up for fairness. I said gratefully, "Still, thanks. Let me buy you a meal." She rolled her eyes. "No need." I swallowed and asked, "Then, shall I book a room for you?" Willow's face froze, her lips moving. From the shape of her mouth, she seemed to curse. "You pervert." Willow was about to leave, but as she took her first step, I vomited into a trash can I was holding. When I finished, I closed my eyes and fell asleep. In the end, Willow resigned herself and helped me book a room. When I was half out of it, my head on her thigh, I kept touching her and murmured, "Thank you." Willow blushed, this time from shyness. The bullet comments were unanimous in calling me shameless and opportunistic. Some, more balanced, shipped everything. The next morning, I woke to find Willow still asleep on the neighboring bed, basking in the early sunlight. I admired Willow's beauty for a while. Before leaving, I couldn't resist and planted a kiss on her cheek. Willow didn't open her eyes, but her lashes fluttered quickly like a wounded butterfly. In the days that followed, Willow and I returned to not contacting each other at all, until one morning, she was waiting outside my dorm and demanded to know why I hadn't been in touch. She puffed up and said, "George, you haven't forgotten that we're boyfriend and girlfriend, have you?" I answered honestly, "Because I don't have your contact info." We hadn't even added each other on WeChat. Willow fell silent, then took my phone and added herself. When the phone was back in my hand, her name in my contacts was already set, "Girlfriend." I was a bit dazed. The bullet comments arrived as usual. Someone wrote, "Extra. Don't be delusional. Wasn't it that today the male lead and the junior were in class together and the heroine caught them? The heroine will get even. Make the extra accompany her to class to provoke the male lead." Another read, "If the male lead hangs his head, the heroine will kick the extra away immediately." And another, "In the end, for the male lead, the heroine will even persuade the extra to give up the PhD spot." This plot was too absurd. I didn't buy it. A moment later, Willow did ask me to accompany her to class. I glanced at my schedule and shook my head. "I have class too." Willow was a bit displeased, but she left anyway. At noon, I invited her to eat. She showed up. The small hotpot place I usually ate at had one more figure at the table. That evening, I invited Willow to our barbecue. She came again. When fireworks burst in the night sky, she naturally rested her head on my shoulder. Those days were unbearably sweet. With her, I experienced many new things. Drunk and holding her, I couldn't help but say a lot, from 8 years old mucking latrines, to 18 leaving home for college. Willow stared at me without blinking and said she wanted to spend her birthday with me that year. We hooked pinkies. Then one day, Willow tilted her head and appraised me, saying, "You seem like you're finally in better spirits." At that moment I heard my own heartbeat. Chapter 5. I never cared much about those bullet comments, but now, the more I looked at them, the more they got under my skin, especially the one saying that today would be the day the male lead and the heroine finally got together. Wearing flip-flops and carrying 4 boxed meals, I walked through the small grove. Suddenly, a man's sobbing voice made me look over instinctively. A tall, thin boy stood with his head hung low, full of regret in front of a girl. Makoto's voice was hoarse as he pleaded, "Willow, I was wrong. I really was wrong. Please stop punishing me like this. I'll never talk to another girl again. Willow, please forgive me." And there I saw the same woman who just yesterday had been by my side, now softening, moved, and heartbroken in front of him. The bullet comments scrolled in. "Proud heroine vs devoted male lead. What a perfect match. Oh my god, I've waited for this moment. Finally, no more watching that extra act smug, throwing confetti." As the cheers rolled in, Makoto pulled Willow into his arms. Overjoyed, he said, "Willow, let's be together." I let out a sigh. I thought of my unfinished paper. No time to linger in self-pity here. So I turned and walked away, and at that exact moment, Willow seemed to sense it. She lifted her eyes and met mine. Chapter 6. Willow's lips parted slightly, as if she wanted to say something, but in the next instant, Makoto cupped her face and pressed a kiss to her lips. Willow froze on the spot. The scene looked beautiful, picture perfect. Meanwhile, I shuffled farther and farther away in my faded t-shirt and worn flip-flops. I didn't care about Willow's answer. It was obvious anyway. The bullet comments erupted into celebration. The extra is finally offline. You see him like that, like a dejected dog. There were also bullet comments saying, "Doggies are so cute. You're not allowed to use doggies to describe some random passerby." There was even one that said, "Suddenly, I feel a little sorry for him. No, I am not pitiable. I have a place to study, books to read, a mother who loves me, and a bright future." Back in the dorm, I received a message from Willow. She sent a string of question marks. "You just walked away like that. Don't you have anything to say?" I didn't reply. The interface showed she was typing for a long time. After a while Willow sent, "About before, it was my fault. You must hate me now, right?" With a crying emoji, I answered, "What I hate most is people asking me so many questions." Then I blocked her. That night my mom called. She said she'd sold a house back home and scraped together a few $100,000 so she could send me abroad for a PhD. She said, "Mom only studied through elementary school and doesn't understand the stuff you're into. But I've asked around, getting a PhD in your field will give you better prospects." The night breeze carried the temperature of home. I gritted my teeth, not wanting her to hear how off I sounded. I kept working on my paper while weighing the idea of studying overseas. I'd actually already contacted another professor. His research wasn't a perfect match, but he had a good reputation, a solid option. Willow didn't try to reach me after I blocked her. She had little reason to. That month had felt like a brilliant dream. When the dream ended, everything returned to normal, but I didn't expect our paths to cross again. It was Willow's friend who called me, the girl who had done the duet video with her, Freya. Her group needed one more person. I didn't want to go, but Freya was persistent. She complained, "Willow's been missing lately. If you don't come I'll have no one to hang out with." My eyes hurt from staring at experimental data, so I gave in. When I arrived, Willow was there. Not only Willow, Makoto was there too. Willow sat on the sofa, propping her cheek with one hand, half leaning on the armrest. Her starlit face stood out, impossible to miss. For some reason she wore a sullen expression, like she was sulking. The moment I stepped into the villa, Willow's gaze landed on me. I tried to slip away, but Makoto caught sight of me. He called me over and, apologetically, said, "George, Willow didn't know better before. I apologize on her behalf." I waved him off. "It's fine." I thought to myself, after all, I'd had my fun. But Makoto looked puzzled and said, "Honestly, I don't understand why you'd be willing to be with her." He smiled. "Everyone can see she only wanted to use you to make me jealous." I don't know if George can't see he's humiliating himself, or if he's deliberately trying to wreck what's between us. Either he's dumb or he's malicious. What do you think, George? When his words fell, the air seemed to freeze. Freya hurried in to smooth things over and the mood revived. Willow and Makoto sat at the center of the group. I sat alone in a corner, drinking and playing on my phone. It felt like someone kept watching me. Suddenly Makoto suggested a game of I have, you don't. I had a bad feeling. As expected, every time it was Makoto's turn, he seemed to be targeting me. He said, "I'm willing to provide, because a man's money is where his heart is." He said, "I'm responsible. If I can't give a girl a future, I won't touch her." He said, "I come from an intact family, my parents never divorced." I had no idea where he'd learned that. I remembered once, drunk, I'd told Willow something similar. Willow frowned and complained, "Okay, why are you saying this?" Makoto shot her a dissatisfied look. Willow shut up, but Makoto still didn't seem pleased. Near the bathroom door I heard raised voices. Makoto said in a low voice, "Did you fall for him?" Chapter 7. Willow immediately denied it. "Of course not." Makoto drew in a deep breath. "Then prove it to me." So, when we returned to the table, Willow pointed at a girl and said to me, "George, let me introduce you to a girlfriend." The girl she pointed to wore glasses and looked plain. She was the daughter of the Liu family's housekeeper. Makoto grinned. "George, you two are a good match. Don't miss such a great opportunity." I didn't know what to say. After a pause, Makoto narrowed his eyes and asked, "Not willing? What? Do you still have improper thoughts about my girlfriend?" "George, people need to recognize their place." He smirked. "Dragons match with dragons. Phoenixes with phoenixes. Mice are born to dig holes. Fish find fish. Shrimp find shrimp. And turtles pair with turtles." Someone whispered, "No wonder he keeps hovering around today. He still hasn't given up." Makoto looked at me arrogantly, his grin wicked. "All right then, since you lost the game earlier, you haven't done your punishment yet," he said. "Your penalty is, the two of you kiss." The whole room fell silent. Neither I nor the girl moved. Willow pressed her lips together, hesitating. After a long while, she finally said, "Who kisses on the first meeting?" She seemed to think of something, but didn't continue. I smiled and picked up her words. "Who says it's never happened?" And with that, I pulled the girl into my arms. Chapter 8. I kissed the corner of the girl's lips, landing it on her cheek, but I didn't let go for a long time. From the right angle, it looked like a deep kiss. The crowd cheered and jeered. No one noticed the wine glass slip from Willow's hand and shatter on the floor. Finally, I released the girl and sat back in my seat. "All right, let's continue the game." When my turn came, I smiled and said, "At this table, there's someone I've slept with." After saying those words, I walked out. I didn't care how the roomful of people reacted behind me. I held my head high, chest out, like the MVP screen after a match. The bullet comments flew in. "That extra is so vile. Can't he just die already?" The couple finally got together, and he just had to meddle. To say something like that, he doesn't know how to respect women. Unlike our male lead, who is responsible and dependable. No wonder the heroine loves him so much. Others argued back. You can't blame the extra entirely, the male lead provoked him first. Which was answered with, so what if he provoked him first? The male lead was only telling the truth, and now some people are actually sympathizing with a scumbag. The bullet comments brawled, turning into cheers in my ears. Behind me, a voice called out. It was the girl from earlier, following me out. She said, I want to leave too. Let's go back to campus together. The wind lifted a swirl of sand. She squinted, removed her glasses, and rubbed her eyes lightly. Her revealed face actually had a trace of beauty, and for a moment I was stunned. I asked, is it okay for you to just walk out like this? She shook her head. My mom's retired. I'm preparing to leave the Liu family too. On the ride back, I got a text from Freya. I didn't expect Willow and Makoto to show up like that. Don't take what happened too seriously. They've been childhood sweethearts, so their feelings for each other run deep. The next day, Willow called me. Her voice was as beautiful as ever, though what she said wasn't. She said, what happened before was my fault, but you shouldn't have taken it out on Makoto. About yesterday, you should apologize to him. I raised an eyebrow. Sure, I laughed. But shouldn't your apology come with a little sincerity? Willow was puzzled. What do you mean by that? I thought for a moment, then said, meet me at the hotel near campus. On the other end of the line, Willow's breathing hitched. She snapped, George, how can you be so shameless and despicable? Do you only think with what's below your waist? Any woman you meet, you want to drag to a hotel? Then, angrily, where did you two go after you left last night? I laughed. Guess. Furious, Willow hung up. Maybe because I never apologized. A few days later the professor I had lined up suddenly emailed me. He said his PhD slots were full. He offered to recommend me to another professor. I politely declined. Knowledge can change destiny, but destiny can also change knowledge. I was prepared for this already. I applied to foreign universities. Meanwhile, I heard Willow and Makoto were showing off their love everywhere. On WeChat, yachts, sports cars, hot air balloons. Anyone who didn't know better would think they were live streaming for tips. Somehow Makoto got my WeChat and sent a friend request. I didn't accept. I really didn't have the time to mess around with them anymore. Soon it was Willow's birthday. Freya was the one who told me, asking if I'd come. Compared to Makoto, she still preferred hanging out with me. I remembered how months ago, Willow's eyes had sparkled like starlight when she said she wanted to spend her birthday with me. But now, all had changed. I was about to say I wouldn't go when Willow's text came in. Don't come to my birthday. So I swallowed the words and instead told Freya, go. Of course I'll go. I've even prepared a gift. The next day, when Freya messaged me in a panic, I had just arrived at the airport. She said, George, don't come. Those two dogs hired bodyguards to block you. Everyone's waiting to laugh at you. Makoto even started a live stream, and that live stream had already climbed onto the trending chart. On camera, Makoto spoke in a humble tone. I just hope that, through the internet, we can make him stay away from our lives. Then he turned to Willow and asked word by word, Willow, you don't think what I'm doing is inappropriate, do you? Willow replied, not at all. His skin is thick enough. This is the only way to make him face reality. The camera swept across rows of bodyguards, lined up and ready. In the comments section, someone posted my photo, a research grunt, compared side by side with the luxury-clad Willow, clearly from two different worlds. The bullet comments streamed in. So this is the ceiling for overconfident men. Willow is so beautiful, and he thinks he's worthy. I've never seen such shamelessness. Aren't his parents afraid of being greeted too? The airport broadcast began calling for boarding. I exited the live stream and got on the plane. I hadn't planned to go anyway. Suddenly, someone called my name. It was that girl from before. Turns out she was also going abroad to study. I was headed for a PhD, she for a master's, to the very same school. Strange how fate works. Maybe it was the good sunshine. Maybe the dazzling future. I pulled her close for a photo and posted it with the caption, meeting new people is also a new beginning. It looked a little like an official announcement. No big deal. The live stream was still on. Willow was absent-minded, her gaze frequently drifting toward the door. As she passed by the bodyguards, she couldn't help but mutter, don't get physical, just drive him away. Before the bodyguards could even react, she added, oh, right, if he insists on giving a gift, let him leave it. Don't throw it away. But George never appeared. The viewers in the live stream room dwindled. Some even said maybe Makoto was overacting, and George never planned to come. Makoto grew anxious. When he leaned in to kiss Willow, she instinctively turned her head away. Makoto froze on the spot. Willow felt a twinge of frustration. It was all George's fault. Because of him, she had developed a shadow over physical intimacy, and after so long, She still hadn't been close with Makoto. To ease things, Willow stood on tiptoe and kissed Makoto lightly. Makoto, seizing the chance, pulled her into his arms and pressed his lips to hers. The crowd around them erupted in cheers, but the next moment, Willow couldn't hold it in. She shoved Makoto away. A row of question marks flew across the livestream screen. Makoto's face turned pale as he demanded, "Willow, what do you mean by this?" Willow herself didn't even know why. Lowering her eyes, she stammered, I don't like being watched by so many people." Willow seemed to have found an excuse. Makoto reluctantly accepted it, forcing a smile back on his face. His tone turned suggestive. "Fine, then tonight, when it's just the two of us." The implication in his words was obvious. That night, when Willow once again excused herself to the bathroom, Freya followed her. "George isn't coming," Freya said. Willow spun around, her voice trembling. "What did you say?" Freya didn't want to start a fight, so she didn't reveal that she had tipped George off. Instead, she said, "After the way you treated him, do you really expect him to celebrate your birthday?" Willow opened her mouth to defend herself, but found she couldn't. She was the one who confessed first, and she was also the one who suddenly got back together with Makoto. Breaking up with George, she hadn't even said a proper goodbye, because she had never been serious about George in the first place. But George hadn't been serious about her either. She didn't owe him anything. That's what Willow told herself. Late at night, almost everyone had left the live stream. Willow opened the comment section and saw someone write, "George, I know him. He's a great guy. Once my lab data had an error, and he was the one who helped me fix it. How could someone like him interfere in another person's relationship?" Another comment read, "He's really unlucky. Not only did someone else take his PhD spot, but even in love he's treated like a fool." Then someone replied, "George actually knew, but since he liked her, well, you know, that's why I'm telling you all. Remember this, a simp ends up with nothing in the end." This commenter clearly knew some inside story, and right beneath it were rows of little ear emojis, people waiting for gossip. Willow clicked on the folded comments and saw, "Back when school just started, George's shameless dad came to the campus to make a scene. It just so happened the Liu family was dropping Willow off, and Willow couldn't stand it, so she drove him away." Someone replied, "So George had a crush on Willow from the start." Yeah, more than once when Willow skipped class, it was George who covered for her and her grades. Every time, it was George who filled in her name. Otherwise she would have failed. If that's not a crush, then what is? I was just about to ship them, and now you're telling me it's a bad ending. Willow froze in place. A few seconds later, another comment popped up. "Forget it. This blogger is just spreading rumors. George already made it official on WeChat. He has a girlfriend now." Attached was a screenshot of George's WeChat post. Willow enlarged the picture. It was the very girl she had once said she'd introduced to George. Her face turned pale instantly, her hands trembling uncontrollably. Moments later, she suddenly stood up and walked out. Makoto called after her, but she didn't hear him. She just wanted to find George. She didn't know why. She just wanted to see him. Chapter 9. The plane cut through the clouds. My homeland shrank into a tiny patch. My mother transferred all her money to me, but I wasn't planning to touch it. I have a scholarship, and a PhD stipend. It's enough for me to live on. The future is uncertain, and I'm full of expectation. I put on a blindfold, pulled the blanket over me, and closed my eyes. A short dream, not a pleasant one. When the semester first started, that was 6 or 7 years ago, my father, who had racked up a mountain of gambling debts, actually brought his creditors to the school to find me. He said I was an adult now, able to earn money, so I should pay off my father's debts, clear the 300,000 yuan bill for him, or he didn't know what those men might do. While he was spouting threats, Willow appeared. Bodyguards trailed behind her. When she heard him, she sneered. She took off her bracelet and threw it at them, telling them to get lost. My father's eyes narrowed as he grinned. He gave Willow a once-over and said, "You've done well for yourself. Boy, you even know a rich heiress like this. Look at her. You must have already got her. Right? Ha ha ha. That's my son." He smiled at Willow. "Good daughter-in-law. Hold on tight. I'm still waiting to hold my grandchild." Willow stepped back in disgust. Everyone around laughed, as if I and Willow were from totally different worlds. At that moment my shame and humiliation reached a peak. I didn't need Willow to save me. I hid the camera, left my phone's location on, and told my roommate to call the police the instant I gave the signal. I was going to make sure he went to jail, but Willow stuck her foot in. Not only did she make that guy look like he'd eaten his fill, she also fattened his appetite, so much so that he kept coming back to me again and again. He stopped threatening to take me away and cut my hands and feet off, and stopped talking about selling parts of me for a good price, because he had seen a bigger opportunity. He nagged me for money and said, "That woman from last time, you must have slept with her already, right?" I'll give you an idea. Next time make a video threatening her for money, or else post it on the school forum. It dragged on for a year before I finally put him away for good. But everyone thought I should be grateful to Willow. If I wasn't grateful, I'd be an ungrateful wretch. So I thought that too. For years I tried to repay Willow. She chose an elective. I took it too. I did extra copies of assignments. And when it came to projects and experiments, I put her name on them. But beyond that, I didn't want any more involvement with her. The video at the school gate kept circulating online. Countless people praised Willow as beautiful and kind. And I was useless and humiliated. Willow's father bought trending search space and posted the video on the company's official account. Shares in the Liu family company jumped limit up for several days. I had never spoken a single word to Willow, until she used me to provoke Makoto. She stood in front of me, so beautiful she seemed to be on a different layer of reality. Delicate brows and eyes, a finely sculpted nose, pink lips, like a rare flower raised in a greenhouse. The flower said she liked me. Listen, just listen. Luring a country bumpkin, bullying an honest man, isn't this outrageous? I'd been by her side for so many years, and only now did she notice me. How could she possibly like me? A wicked thought suddenly rose in my chest. 6 or 7 years ago she ruined my plans and brought me so much trouble. I would just get a little revenge. She wouldn't blame me, right? She didn't lose anything. I helped her provoke Makoto, and in the end they became a couple. Isn't that what she wanted? Besides, she didn't refuse, did she? In the end, everything squared. This king's victory, you have already witnessed. Now, this king is leaving the court. Chapter 10. Since I distanced myself from Willow and Makoto, the bullet comments never reappeared. Looks like I really am just an extra, but even an extra has his day. I tried hard to adapt to the new environment and the new life. It was hard. The pressure was huge. Those tens of thousands of little companions who once promised to stick with me for life gradually left my scalp one by one. When Willow called, I had just come out of the lab. I didn't want to pick up, but she called several times. Angry, I slammed the answer button. Before Willow could speak I said, "Transfer me 500 for roaming charges, George." Willow breathed twice, then hung up. 500 appeared in my bank account with the note, "Phone bill." Willow called again. She asked, "Where are you now?" I replied, "No comment." She said, "You think hiding means I can't find you? It won't help." I said, "Are you pregnant? Take care of yourself." Willow froze for a moment, clearly annoyed. I was puzzled and asked, "So why are you looking for me?" Silence on the other end stretched so long I thought she'd died. Finally Willow said, "I want to see you." I answered, "I want to see legs." Willow paused, then snapped, "How disgusting you are." I obligingly explained, "You misunderstand. I don't mean the legs themselves, I mean the path someone walks. Everything they've been through. Existence precedes essence. A person becomes unique not because they're preset to be a certain way, but because later experiences and choices shape them. So when I say I want to see legs, I mean I want to see what you mean. I'm not different from what I told you. Yet you think I'm gross and insist on being double standard. What can I do?" Willow hung up. A few minutes later she seemed to regret it and called back. This time I didn't pick up and I refunded the 500. I didn't answer the later calls either. 3 months passed in a blink. Life pushed me forward. Heavy coursework, high prices, SOSO security, bad food. Except for a cute junior, there was nothing to be happy about. Alive but half dead. When Willow appeared in front of me, Anna was about to invite me to her place for dinner. Yes, she was the junior I had some fate with, my underclass woman. She'd changed her hairstyle, taken off her glasses, and looked like a completely different person, much prettier than before. She hid herself to avoid catching the eye of rich heirs and feared envy from wealthy girls. I was about to speak when I saw Willow staring at me with a sullen face. It looked like the moment I nodded she would rush over and slap me. I didn't say anything, but Willow still charged forward. Her first words were, "You can't be with her." Anna rolled her eyes and shot back, "Miss Liu, aren't you worried your boyfriend will find out?" She bit her lip and said, "Makoto and I have already broken up." Anna snorted. 2 relationships already at such a young age, and they both ended so easily. You're not even second-hand goods, more like third-hand. Willow raised her hand. The two of them tore into each other. Honestly, it was quite a sight. It would have been even better if they weren't fighting because of me. Willow yanked Anna's hair while shouting, "George has liked me for 7 years, can you even compare?" Anna bit hard into Willow's arm. Furious, "Did you have a fever as a kid and never get treated? Him falling for cheap trash like you just proves he's blind. I'll clean his glasses for him later. Who would want a third-hand good like you? George is like chocolate, you can't even handle a taste." Unable to win the argument, Willow started spouting nonsense. "I never actually said the word break up to George. So we're still a couple. You're just the mistress." Anna snorted. "Someone who truly likes a person doesn't care if she already has a boyfriend. Then she turned to me and said, "George, your mistress is here." The crowd around us kept growing. I worried that people would notice how half-hearted my attempts at peacemaking were. So I finally put in some real effort and managed to pull the two of them apart. Willow landed a slap on Anna at the end. It clearly wasn't heavy, but Anna spun like a fluttering butterfly, flying off balance. I rushed forward to catch the butterfly. In doing so, my hand accidentally landed on a soft spot. Guilty. I pulled my hand back, but Anna grabbed it and put it right back. She said, "If George doesn't hold me, I'll fall." I carried Anna to the hospital. She beamed with joy. From behind, Willow called out to me, "George, what about me?" I turned back to glance at her. Her face was bruised, her pitiful expression evoking sympathy. She still had some beauty in her. For a moment, pity stirred in me, but Anna clutched my hand, pressing it to her thigh. "George, it hurts here too." So I told Willow, "Go back. You don't even have medical insurance here. We're already over, aren't we?" Willow stared at me in disbelief. "How can you say something so heartless? Did you never like me at all? Was it just my body you wanted?" I put on an honest face, as though I'd been exposed. Willow swayed, about to collapse. I urged her to leave. Tears welled in her eyes, trembling on the verge of falling. Her voice shook as she asked, "All for her?" I shook my head. "No, it's for you and Makoto." Willow's eyes widened. Moments later, it was as if she had been sentenced to death. All her strength drained away. She staggered toward me, pleading, But I already broke up with him." She reached for my hand. I stepped back 2 paces. A taxi happened to pull up. I lifted Anna into it. The car drove off. In the rearview mirror, Willow stood frozen in place, shrinking smaller and smaller. Chapter 11. Time passed quickly. Willow showed up around me from time to time, and with her appearances, the bullet comments started trickling back in. "This damn plot has completely collapsed. Might as well rename the book The Happy Life of an Extra. He's been doing his PhD for 6 years. Happy my ass. Refund." Willow brought me breakfast. Learned to cook. When she noticed I wouldn't even touch it, she had the Liu family invest money into my lab. Sorry, that's hard to refuse. Sometimes I'd have a meal with Willow. I treated it as business entertainment. Willow was thrilled, her eyes unable to hide her smile. She always dressed fashionably, like a model on the runway. And me, I looked like the rich sponsor keeping her. One time, Willow got herself drunk and collapsed into my arms. I nobly pushed her away. She burst into tears on the spot, choking. She said, "George, weren't you only after my body? Why don't you want me when I'm offering myself?" Because I'd already been drained dry by experiments. But a man can't admit he's powerless. So I said, "Because you're dirty." Willow nearly shattered. I hadn't expected those words to hit her so hard. Afterward, she tried all sorts of bizarre ways to please me. Can't describe them here. Maybe because of all the adult content. This book got banned, and the bullet comments disappeared completely. Makoto once came to ask me to let Willow go. Willow deleted all his friends. What did that have to do with me? I teased. "How about I add you instead? You may have lost Willow's contact, but you've gained a PhD candidate friend." Makoto stormed off in anger again. Somehow Willow seemed to know Makoto had come to me. Freya told me his PhD spot was gone. Apparently someone reported him. Makoto and his father even went to the Liu family to apologize. That story didn't have a single interesting punchline. I couldn't be bothered to hear more. Meanwhile, Anna often came to eat with me. Real meals. Sometimes I'd admire her thighs, even fairer than Willow's. The year I graduated, I got together with Anna, because not only did she have long legs, unlike Willow, she had 2 highlights. Willow, eyes red, demanded to know what I saw in her. I said, "She cooks well," in both senses. I thought Willow would disappear after that, but the next day, she showed up again. She said, "George, your mistress is here." Extra chapter. For many years afterward, Willow regretted that day. She often woke at midnight, dreaming of that moment, the moment she accepted Makoto's confession, while George walked past them, his face expressionless. No, it wasn't like that. She already didn't like Makoto then, but when she saw how indifferent George seemed, it was as if a weight lodged in her chest, and for that stubborn weight, she agreed to Makoto's confession. From that day on, things spiraled out of control. It was as if an invisible hand kept pushing her along the script, even though this wasn't what she wanted. When she was with Makoto, she thought about George every moment. Whenever she saw George again, she wanted to cry and ask why he wasn't jealous, why he never came for her. But none of that happened. In reality, to keep Makoto from doubting her, she even introduced a girlfriend to George. Willow felt split in 2. One half of her wanted to hold on to George. The other half reminded her she was Makoto's girlfriend. She and Makoto were childhood sweethearts. A match made in heaven. She should be satisfied. Wasn't this what she'd always wanted? At least, That's what a voice in her head kept telling her. She struggled. She resisted. Finally, that voice disappeared. She recognized her true feelings. She stood before George once more. But it seemed, everything was too late. That voice had only been her own fantasy, an excuse to deny her own foolishness. Perhaps in some parallel world, that Willow was smarter. She rejected Makoto's confession on the spot and ran after George. She took the 4 boxed meals from his hands, walking back to the dorms with him, chatting and laughing. Later, George stayed in the country for his doctorate, and Willow Lu saw him every day. The Lu family invested in George's lab. George said, "Thank you, wife. Everything was so beautiful, and there was no annoying Anna."